Hey everyone, thanks for checking out episode 5 of the Enkindled Columbus Podcast. You're listening to Delaying the Inevitable by Life in the Universe from their recent EP, The Adventure.
If you like the podcast and acoustic sessions, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Enkindled Columbus.
Anyways, here's the podcast. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out episode 5 of the Enkindled Columbus Podcast. My name's Zach.
And this is Alonzo today with Life in the Universe. Dave, Ben, Joel, what is up?
How you doing?
What's up?
I felt stronger that time around too. So to start off, you guys just recently played Comfest and Narbecue.
Yeah.
How'd it go? How'd it feel?
Pretty great. It was a good time both weekends. I mean, back-to-back weekends. So a little exhausting. The Narbecue was just so hot. It was.
Oh yeah, man, I can only
can
imagine. I
imagine.
went to Comfest over the weekend and it was on fire, like in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It was, you know what though, those people do such a great job putting those together that
Yeah.
it was really great.
For sure, especially for a volunteer event. Like that's pretty
Yeah.
I did not know
Right?
that. I had no
Yep.
clue. Could one of you actually describe what is Narbecue? That was the first time I ever heard of it was this year.
Well, Dave was one of the stage managers.
Yeah, I
right?
did Saturday. I was a stage manager on the indoor stage. It started by Zach Barnes from the band Tourist Trap. He had it in his backyard for several years, and it kept getting bigger and bigger. And he wanted to make it legit festival, so he busted his butt and made it happen. He's a good guy.
That's super cool. And so, like Narbecue, it's just focusing on like the local scene, like give them
Yeah.
kind of like that festival experience, I'm guessing, or
Yeah, I think the headliner was from out of town.
Yeah, I know the Sunday headliner was Joe Hertler and the Rainbow Seekers, whom I fell in love with watching them. It was amazing. But they were from Detroit. I think they only had a couple out-of-town bands come out, but, no like major national acts or anything like that. But, it still gives you that local feel with, with the vibe of that big stage. I mean, they brought a big trailer stage out, like, Warped Tour quality stage.
Wow.
So,
That's awesome.
I mean, it was definitely something that was unheard of for any type of local events.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think we're definitely going to try to go next year.
Yeah, I was upset I missed it like this time around again because after when me and Zach kind of started this whole Enkindle thing, like getting more involved in the local scene, you learn something new every other day. I'm so behind. You see something else. I'm like, oh, so this has been around. This has been a thing. Yeah, so I'm like, well, now I look like a jerk. Yeah. Well, so I guess the next question in this going to the actual music, math rock. We were talking a little before this.
Yeah.
Does that would you say that defines your sound as Life in the Universe?
It's a part of the sound. I wouldn't say we're a math rock band because we're not quite as technical to call ourselves just a flat out math rock band.
It's sort of like the difference between girlfriend and girlfriend. Like, it's like there's math rock and math rock.
Okay.
Like I bring a lot of math rock influence to our stuff, but the other guys have a lot of their own influences that they bring to the table. So it's a lot of a mixture between all those.
Okay. So are you doing like the chord structuring for the songs and the words, or how's the process of writing music go?
I definitely would write the lyrics and the vocals for what I'm singing. Joel does some vocals too, but he'll write his stuff.
The way it seems to usually go is Dave will like bring like a guitar part in and like into practice, and then like I'll end up like playing something, and then usually what happens is I'll like start to get confused and they go, how did you hear this? And so then Dave will play what he had in mind, and then I'll play that, and then Joel will often jam to it, and sometimes if he doesn't like hear what he really wants to, he'll like spend some time over the course of the next couple of days sort of writing to that.
A lot of times I've noticed I'll bring in a tapping part that I have a certain chord structure underneath it in mind, and they come up with something completely different from left field, and I'm like, but it works, so all right, let's go with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what makes it cool working with other musicians. You kind of get to bring more creative minds into the creative process, and it really turns something from a solo project into something with a whole band.
For sure.
Absolutely. And we're missing the other guitar player.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
missing
Frank.
He couldn't make it today, prior wife engagements.
Right.
So, we're all old and married, except for Ben. He's the young guy here. So,
Yeah. I'm 23.
Oh,
Oh, same.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
22.
That's great.
Young blood.
Yes, exactly right.
Now you said it was Frank. We're correct.
Frank, yeah.
Yeah. So is he also writing another chord part to what you're writing with?
Yeah,
or-
he throws a lot of ideas into the ring for sure.
Yeah. When you listen to us, you got to understand our backgrounds. It's like I did music for a long time. I played like pop punk. I moved to Los Angeles in pursuit of playing pop punk as a career and did pretty well at it. And Dave and I played in a band in Columbus before. It's called Move Home. We were relatively successful in Columbus, and Frank and I also played in a band together called Excusing Reality. So and that was post-hardcore. And Ben comes from really loves blues and jazz and stuff like that. And I mean, we have such an eclectic group of minds that come together and write this music that it's impossible to almost make us fit into one genre, because it was like the Comfest thing when I was applying for it. They're like, describe your genre in 3 selections. And they give you a drop down to pick from. And I'm like, I don't know how to pick. It's ridiculous.
Only 3?
I want to put alternative funk hip hop, but I was like, I don't know if they'll go for that.
I think that's awesome in itself that you can't describe it, because I think that keeps it original.
I think I chose K-pop on one of the.
I could see it.
Yeah.
That's great.
So something I was curious about: how did you guys come together, and how did you all meet each other? How did life in the universe become a thing?
That's a good story. I'll go ahead and tell that one. So Dave and I know each other. We played Move Home together, and I was unemployed, and I was like, Dave, I need a job. He's like, hey, I have a job. So we started working together, and he's like, I think I'm going to start a band. I said, okay, I'll play in it. What do you need? So he tells me he needs a bassist, and I don't play bass. I play guitar. I do play bass now, though. And so I ended up buying some bass gear and playing. And my buddy Frank, our other band, wasn't doing anything. I was like, hey, do you want to play guitar? He was like, yeah, I'm down. And so Ben, I had bought myself a Chipson, which is a Chinese Gibson.
Chipson.
And I sold him this Chinese Gibson on the internet.
Be warned, saying
And-
Chipson nowadays, they're gonna sue you or something.
Oh yeah, they're all
Fake
over it.
Gibson.
Oh yeah, you got to be careful about that.
Right,
Play
yeah.
authentic.
I'm going to put a piece of tape over when I'm saying Gibson right now.
Thank you.
But anyways, so I just in passing, he's like, yeah, I play drums, blah, blah, blah. And then 6 months goes by and I'm like, hey, I think I know a drummer. And I hit him up on Facebook and I was like, hey, you want to play drums? He was like, yeah, why not? So that's how it came together.
Let
Most
it be known that I
random way
returned
ever.
that guitar the same day.
He did.
because
He
I was
returned the
a-
guitar. He's
a
like, I'm more
jerk.
comfortable with this. And I'm like, I
Yeah,
understand.
that was a jerk.
That's great.
And then Frank came in actually. Frank came in a little bit later.
Oh yeah,
after-
we had another guitar player and he didn't work out. So
Right.
we tried a
he was
3-piece.
he was trying to be as noodly as I was trying to be, and the two noodlies.
Oh yeah, it could be a little too much. Huh?
And he saw it too. He was actually the one that was like, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. So he kind of recognized it just wasn't a good fit, and there's no hard feelings or anything.
Yeah.
But it was so early in the creation of the band that it's figuring things out. And,
I think Ben's
and-
the 5th drummer that we've worked with.
Really?
But, yeah, I think there was 4 before we started working with Ben.
Wow.
I was even doing it, working on this project before Joel was in it,
Yeah.
trying to get it together with the original guitar player. We had a couple different drummers then. So, I mean, it was a long time before we even had the final lineup together, a year at least.
Yep.
And
That's my story.
This
And
is
then-
news to me.
And when you guys formed, did you already have the songs for the self-titled album written and ready to go?
Most of them.
Okay, so it wasn't until you met the rest of them that kind of helped finish the rest of that.
2 of the songs on there were just kind of made up while we were recording it, just as kind of fillers, but like the intro and the outro.
Okay.
But the rest of them, which would be 8 songs, I probably had, well, actually, 3 is what I started with. I was like, I got 3 songs, let's put a band together, and then we'll write from there. And I think we just started with those 3, which we play 1 of those 3 still currently.
And then the intro and the outro for that one was was like you just noodling around after I thought I was noodling around trying to do a mic
we were
check.
like, check the drums, just play the drums for a few
Yeah.
minutes, and we recorded it. And like, I'm just going to record some guitar over that, his noodling around on the drums. And that was the outro.
Yeah.
That was the outro.
Ended up working out a little bit. So pretty cool.
Well, that's cool. So I guess what's your guys' favorite process of kind of when you guys formed that band? You know how those two songs just come together just from noodling around.
Yeah.
Dare I say?
No, I don't know. Like I think we found something that really like kind of works like the way we were talking about a minute ago. But I think like as relaxed and as open to like playing something like fairly different as possible. I think we each individually have like some sort of like style that we kind of stick to. Like everybody kind of has like a pattern of how they play, but every now and again you'll throw in little idiosyncrasies and different sort of like different licks that'll sound something new. So it kind of like I kind of like it the way it is because it's like really relaxed and just sort of like remaining open to new ideas. What do you guys think?
I kind of lost track of the question, to be honest with you.
I guess the process of being in a band.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like what is it? What did you gain from it? What have you learned playing with the guys you play with now that's been different from any other time?
I don't know. Forcing myself to play music, I guess. learning an instrument that I had never really had very much interest in, and finding that I really do like it. Guitar is always going to be my number one, but it's almost a tie between bass now. I aspire to be a drummer, but let's be honest, that's just never going to happen. But no, I mean, this is great. And as far as like my writing process, it comes to writing bass and lyrics for the band and stuff like that, it's never really been an issue for me because I'm such a big studio guy that it's just like, okay, as long as these guys know their stuff, I can go in and write all of my bass parts, all my lyrics afterwards, because I can just do it on my own and concentrate in the recording process as far as writing goes. So,
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. That's exactly kind of how it works for me in the band that I'm in. We do the same thing. They'll go in, lay down all their parts, and I'm like, okay, well, I've got control over it. That's kind of, I'm totally with you on that.
Yeah.
What do you play in your band?
I play bass.
Oh, nice,
yeah, I'm also a bass guy.
Yeah. What's the name of your band?
We're the Friends Lacey. Alonzo's actually in the band also.
Oh, sick. That's awesome, dude.
Hey.
Yeah, we're still...
Shameless promotion. Will you look in the camera and say...
I was drawn for you.
Yeah, right.
All right. That's
No,
cool, man.
I think being in a band, like in general, I think that's just such a bond that you build creatively.
Yeah.
And you discover, like, I never thought I would ever think of something like this until I've played with Zach, or our singer's name's Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Like meeting these guys, I'm like, okay, for example, when I listen to the self-titled one, I think it's the beginning of the end. That's what we have on our playlist.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing that song, like going through, I'm like, what the hell were they thinking? How do you do this? Like, I'm serious. Like, where is this coming from? And I think that's what like amazes me. Doing these podcasts, meeting other musicians. I'm like, how do you get this?
It
noise?
goes a lot of places.
Yeah.
It travels.
Right. And that's so like, and I think that's just like, I think music is just like the expression of it it's amazing in itself.
Yeah, I hate auto-tune.
Right.
That is the one song that I wish I wanted to use auto-tune on myself, but I'm like, no, I will not use it. I don't care how bad I sound. No auto-tune.
So I think it's your guys' a second album, the Venture, correct?
Yeah.
Digital versions. What was that about? That's like a 16-bit
Yeah,
video
talk
game.
about that a
It's
little
so
bit, 'cause
cool.
that was super
That was the mind child of Dave.
That was so
I was
cool.
might be kind of in a chiptunes band. It's kind of up and in and out, up and down, but it's called Every Episode Ever with my friend, and my friend writes these chiptune songs, and then we kind of play along to them with guitar and drums. So it got me really into chiptunes, and I started playing around with the chiptunes creator a little bit, and thought that'd be really cool to do a chiptunes version of our stuff. It's not authentically chip tunes because it wasn't made on a Game Boy,
Okay.
so I don't want to get flack from the chip tunes people out there. But it's fun, and I thought it would be a cool idea to throw on an EP that we only had 3 songs for. So
Oh yeah, that added so much more depth into it. Like that was so cool because we're listening to it, I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, hang on.
Like digital
This
version.
isn't
Okay,
a
what's,
guitar.
we're already listening digitally. What is this?
I'll tell you what, the one thing I liked about that is, so I do all the recording, and I really got to play with Dave's vocals on those, like, more poppy stuff that we typically wouldn't do with Life in the Universe vocals, like, you know, cool like effects and delays and stuff like that, just like typically wouldn't do. But I got to do that because, I mean, yes, it's chiptunes, but it's drum and bass. I mean, that's what chiptunes are.
Yeah, it's cool that you get to have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah, and so I mean, I love doing that because I just got to experiment so much with that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, I could imagine. It seems like a lot of fun.
And-
I forgot we did that actually.
Bro,
too.
I was like, that's one of the coolest parts. I'm like, that's just so cool. It's where you take a song, you just change it. Like, I mean, just restructure it into something new.
Yeah.
Now, Joel, you said you do the recording at Weird Music Studios, right?
Well, that's where I work at now.
Okay.
But we actually did those. So my entity of recording is Arch City Recording, and I work out of Weird Music Studios. But now I work at Weird Music because I'm the booking manager there, and I do all, you know, I put together so much of their events and everything like that. It's kind of like my permanent place now as far as recording goes. But
Okay.
we did all of our recordings in my basement.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's awesome. And
I-
it sounds great, and it really came out well. What was, I mean, doing in your basement? What was, like, I guess the hardest? What was the biggest, I guess, barrier to do that? Anything?
You know, I've got it pretty well treated down there. I mean, I went to audio school, so I mean, I know, you know, acoustics fairly well.
Okay.
I'll never say I'm extremely, you know, professional at it, but
God's gift to
yeah,
the world.
I'm not the God's gift of the world, but honestly, like, I mean, with like reverb plugins and stuff like that, and room plugins, it's not a big issue to create a false room. And I think the biggest thing was just the height of my ceilings in the basement was the biggest thing for drum overheads.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, I like doing guitars in a dry room, so I have a really great dry room and built downstairs, so guitars are never an issue or anything like that. Time restraints, you know, you can't write till 4, and you can't play till 4 in the morning.
Yeah, you run into
You know,
those kind of issues.
9 o'clock and you're done unless you're recording vocals or acoustic guitar, and that's about it. But I mean, that's the biggest thing, was just the height of my ceilings was the barrier.
literal barrier.
Yes.
That is serious.
You can go no higher.
Right. This is a question Zach asked, like, I think every single time we've had someone on. Gig malfunction. What's the craziest thing that's happened at one of your gigs?
Just at the barbecue, I had the back of my guitar strap on the back end came off, and I kind of kept playing and just noodled around until I got it back on, and then the front one came off like right after that.
You hit that really well. I didn't even know that was. I didn't know it was a problem.
I pulled it off fairly well, I think. But next check, I'm getting some strap lock.
Yeah, that's a good investment.
Learned your lesson.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had any big technical issues.
Well, that's good. 'Cause
Other than trying to get my amp to produce
Yeah, well,
sound.
I don't have any technical
Yeah,
issues.
I do.
Dave has recurring technical issues. Dave is on the pursuit of tone, ladies and gentlemen. So he is going through guitar amps like I go through beer.
Like I go through guitar.
Not
Right.
that much.
Not that much.
Not that much.
I'm not an
I've
alcoholic.
had 3
Okay. But
configurations.
you know, it's one of those things where he gets an amp, we try it out for a few months, and it's kind of a learning curve when you're getting quickly set up. You know, Columbus is not known for their long set time changes. It's you have 7 minutes to set up all of your drums and gear, and then you have to start. Oh,
Or
by the way,
cuts
you have
a
to
new
check
set
all your
time.
stuff. Right. So it's just, you know, kind of little things like, why isn't this working? Oh, it's because the standby on the back of this little tiny amp is not working.
Or I had the input plugged into the headphone.
Yep, that was the last one.
instead of the
Yep,
input
that'll get you.
jack.
That'll get you.
I was in a hurry. I mean, hey,
Yeah, especially when you're rushed, you're just like, okay, in. Why are we not getting sound?
Yeah.
Right.
So starting with Dave here, we'll kind of go down the line. What are your inspirations musically? What made you decide that you wanted to get into music? You know, what are artists you remember hearing?
First, well, the drummer that I played with in every episode ever, the chiptune stuff, I was in kind of jamming with his old band, Lamia Bellis, back in like 2009. And that was kind of my introduction to math rock, was jamming with them. And then I kind of got into a couple bands, maybe faded out a little bit. And then my wife and I went to see Tira Milos with Pinback, and just watching Tira Milos really got me pumped on math rock again. And I've been a sucker for it ever since. Standards is my big band that I really like right now. Covet is really awesome. A lot of good stuff from Indonesia is coming out, like Tide Edit and Murphy Radio. They're all really good stuff. Toei is really good. I mean, they don't really do any tapping, I don't think, which is we were talking earlier about a characteristic of math rock.
Right.
But I don't think it necessarily is required to be math rock, like Toei, for example, TOE, but they pronounce it Toei from what I was told anyway.
Okay.
It's a Japanese band, but they don't really do any tapping or anything, but it is pretty mathy. So kind of those are a lot of my influences. What were your drum influences? Do you have specifically drum influences?
I was actually trying to think about that as you were answering the question. I was like, oh crap.
Ben doesn't like drums. He likes guitars.
Yeah, like
and you can't say Bonham or Neil Peart.
yeah,
No.
exactly. That's the thing. It's like I am so like right now I'm on like this really big Benny Greb binge, and so yeah, like Benny Greb and Thomas Pridgeon are really like fun, because it's like I love watching like the drummers that can do things that like sound nearly impossible to do, and they're almost impossible to do, but like that's really fun. And for guitar stuff, because I play guitar like probably more than I do drums at the moment. I'm like Joel hates me for this. I really like John Mayer. And,
Okay.
John Mayer rules.
Yeah. And I really like John Mayer and Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan. And
John
and
Mayer's a
I'm-
douche.
I've heard that.
You heard it first here, ladies and gentlemen.
On the Enkindled
You've heard
Podcast.
it before, ladies
Shout
and
it,
gentlemen. This
Yeah,
is nothing new.
that's been public knowledge.
Yeah.
Might have a few personality defects.
Few
Shit happens.
malfunctions, yeah. And then I'm just now getting onto like a Joe Bonamassa binge right now, but yeah, I mean that's for drumming right now. It's usually like the solo drummers that do like master classes and stuff. I think I did learn a lot from Todd Susherman, who's the drummer for Styx, and I just like a couple years ago I just got into a master class with him, and that was so fun and really eye opening for me. But yeah, that's probably all I can think of off the top of my head. There's like definite like impact on my drumming. But
For sure. How about you, Joel?
Bass influences?
Just it doesn't have to be, specifically for drumming.
What makes you want to music? I guess.
The studio? I mean, I moved to Los Angeles in mid 2000s. So when I moved out there, I was playing pop punk like You're Forever the Sickest Kids, or the Ataris and stuff like that. Like I was completely engulfed in that. I mean, to this day, if you go through like my iTunes playlist or something like that, like 9 out of 10 bands is gonna be like a mid 2004, like Movie Life, Phoenix TX.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really love a guy named Butch Walker. Like 99% of people have not heard of him.
I have not.
Yeah, I have not.
Well, he's like a singer-songwriter. He's got a band that he tours with and stuff like that, but he's really known for his production. He engineer and produces like big artists like Avril Lavigne and like all these big name artists. And
he did an ad for the Fender Parallel Universe Telecaster. When that came out.
Yeah,
It's like it smells orange.
He's bigger in the production world, but his songwriting is so simple, and it's just like, you realize you don't have to be too fancy to make a hit. Because he's a songwriter. I mean, some of like Taylor Swift's biggest songs were written by Butch Walker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, or maybe not Taylor Swift, but like.
But yeah, he writes for big artists.
Yeah, he writes for big artists, and he's like, I think somebody asked him at one time. They're like, well, what makes why don't you give these songs to yourself? He's like, because these songs aren't made for me. They're made for other people. I'm saving my stuff for me. And I always think back then, I'm like, well, that's why I like playing music, because I like playing music for me and not for anybody else.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
You know, and really,
If I was making music for everybody else, I wouldn't be playing math rock.
right?
Yeah,
but,
true. Good point.
Right.
But you know, at the same time, it's like I play Life in the Universe, you know, because I love playing with my friends.
I like John Mayer. So.
Yeah. I mean, there could be 4 people
He's the outcast.
showing up to our shows, or there could be 100 people showing up to our shows, or 5,000. And I think the biggest thing for this is just playing with my friends. I mean, that's my biggest.
I love that.
I guess
that makes
that's
me so
my
happy to hear.
influence right there is just to, you know, once a week get in the basement and write tunes with my buddies and like go out a couple times a month and play shows. Like that's really it. That's the influence.
We would
right
actually do things outside of the band together, which is something.
podcasts and.
Well, I mean, like not band related at all. We would still hang out, and I
Like-
haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah.
I haven't been in a project where we did things unrelated to music together.
Well,
True.
that just shows there's a bond, and I think from that bond goes on to bigger. You know you're putting emotion to music now. Creativity is evolving because you now have a connection, an understanding with the people you play music with,
Yeah.
which is pushing you to that next level of
Yeah. Like
music making.
I had never actually like been in like an actual like band before that. Like,
He was real green.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. For me, it was like up until this point, it was like high school jazz bands and like marching band, and it was like I didn't really realize how the writing process like is supposed to go. So I think like that was really nice because like going in without any idea what you're doing, you can kind of I guess maybe go in like open-minded as to how things might like want to go, or like I usually ask like Joel how I should react to anything, like if like some like minor inconvenience happens at a gig or something, it's like what do I do? So
Most commonly, my response is suck it up and deal
suck
with
it up.
it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right. And but yeah, like it's really refreshing because like everything is new to me. So so yeah, without any kind of prior experience, it's all a learning opportunity. So
Absolutely, and I think that's I connect with you on that because especially like I think anytime you try and put yourself out there in any way when it comes to music, learning experience happens. Like something happens with it. So, but like absolutely, I think that's a really good way to put it. Learning experience.
yeah, right. If I'm not laughing, I'm learning, and that's great.
Right,
too.
or crying as you should have learned beforehand.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
We'll be right back to the podcast after this acoustic version of Delaying the Inevitable, presented by Craft and Vinyl.
This one's called Delaying the Inevitable.
back to the podcast. So I guess besides music, Dave, you were talking about, you guys do hang out after the thing. What do you guys do? Is music full time? You got another full time gig doing something else, or?
We play intense games of peekaboo and
Wow.
Hide and seek.
really aggravated games of tic tac toe and the like. But no, usually we'll just like sit around on Joel's back porch and just talk for a little bit.
Yep, smoke cigarettes, shoot the shit,
Yeah.
and kind of hang out and
Yeah.
run up to Old North Arcade and drink and play video games.
There you go.
For sure.
Ben is not old enough to remember when those came out, but Dave and I are.
Awesome.
So, stepping outside of myself, if I were a new listener who was looking to get into your music, what's a song you would recommend?
Delaying the Inevitable.
Okay. Oh, that brings up the music video. Remind me to talk about that.
Yeah. That is like for me. There's two songs that in our set list that are just incredible. Delaying the Inevitable, and what's the other one I like, Dave?
The one what we're playing today.
No, the
Oh,
head
shit.
bobbing song.
I can't remember the name.
I don't know the name of it, but if you listen to the record, it sounds like this.
Did you guys make the music? Yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, but one of those other songs. There's another one that I really like, but Delaying the Inevitable is kind of like the pinnacle of what life in the universe is about. It's got a good mix of like punk and a really good mix of Dave's influence of math rock in it, and I think it rocks pretty damn hard.
Yeah. Joel's
So,
advertising like a Guillermo del Toro movie. Like, it's got laughs, it's got love, it's got sadness. Like, it's got everything.
You're gonna feel.
One day I'm gonna sell something.
You're right. One big thing, and that's it.
Well, so while we're on the topic, talk about the music video.
Oh yeah. So we got to watch that. Has a couple about 2,000 views on YouTube. I thought I seen. That's,
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah.
What was that like? What was the process of that? It looked awesome. Very
It
visually.
was shot, edited, and directed by our guitar player Frank.
Who's
That's not here.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was super awesome, man. I went out to Menards. I bought like $20 worth of red lights and some cans there. Brought my fog machine from Halloween, and Frank has some really nice cameras. And like we were like, okay, let's do this. And we rented out what was it, Plastic Waffle, the rehearsal space, and we are like, all right, let's make this happen. We got $40 and a hope and a dream, and it turned out like pretty damn professional music video.
It looked great. Why'd you guys use it with that song?
That was our debut
Okay.
from that album, from our EP, and I think it's like the pinnacle. I mean, it's what is it? That's our second song in our set list right now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like our, hey, this is why you should listen to us.
Okay.
Is this song right here? And if there's anything that's gonna grab your attention, it's that song.
Absolutely.
I also I get so stoked every time I hear from like Joel or Dave that we're gonna go to the Plastic Waffle, because like every time we've gone, I've had like a freaking ball, man. It was so fun to play there. Like,
Yeah, nothing like going into a bigger empty room.
it's so fun. Like, it's in like such a big room to sort of just like practice. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, right
it's
now
fun.
we practice in like a
Spacious.
12 by 12
Yeah.
cubicle in my basement.
Yeah.
So it's loud, it's close.
This is true.
We go somewhere bigger for a day, and
Yeah.
it opens you up a little bit.
Absolutely.
So how about, as far as the band goes, what are you guys' goals for the rest of 2019 coming into 2020?
Finish our new record.
Yeah, we're gonna start recording a couple weeks, starting drum day, and we'll move on from there. So over the next probably month and a half, we'll probably finish writing and recording an album. We're doing things a little bit different with this album. You know, we've got the basis of our new album written, but there's definitely going to be a lot of learning curve and
For sure.
adjustments that happen in the studio. We're going to take a little different approach on writing this album.
A lot of the writing will be done in the studio.
Right. So, we've got the basis down for the songs, but it's just more, we're going to do a lot of production work and
Yeah.
really put a lot into this. So it's not going to be a kind of rush job.
Okay, so you guys going to be sticking to the sound that you've had on the other albums, or are you going to be kind of branching out a little bit?
It's pretty close to about what you hear right now. I mean,
Okay.
it's not too, we don't drift too far away from it. And,
It's slightly evolved, but
Yeah, just kind of
that's
stepping
about
up the
it.
production, like you said, bringing the production in a little more.
Yep,
Okay.
Making sure guitars are better in tune.
Yeah. That's a big thing.
We
That's a
won't
big
bring
thing.
that up. It wasn't me, but
It wasn't me.
It was a
No.
certain somebody.
No, but yeah, we're definitely definitely just writing our new record, and then I think probably do a couple shows later in the year and stuff like that. We want to jump on some national shows, when they come through.
That'd be amazing.
Unfortunately, what we've learned is that a lot of these national shows don't want local bands to open up for them anymore, which is dumb because
Help a dude
how
out.
else do you get figured out? Like how do you
I
discover?
wonder, as a community here in Columbus, I wonder how we change that. I wonder if that's like an uproar of people. I need to
Start your own booking
go
company.
Yeah.
Make your own rules.
Yeah.
Play at Craft and Vinyl.
Yes, there it is. Yeah.
Play at Craft and Vinyl, where they have incredibly good beer, by the way.
So something else I wanted to ask you guys: what other local bands are you guys into? I mean, bands that you've played with, bands that you just listened to on your own, bands that you've recorded.
Victory Laps. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
they're a great band. I just did their set at Weird Music. I'm working on mixing right now, and it's turning out great.
I freaking love the Scratches, dude.
Yeah, the
That is-
Scratches are really cool. They don't really we don't really fit in that scene, but we
Right.
do occasionally play with them.
Right.
Dave and I have known those guys for a long time because we played Move Home and we played out with them a lot.
Okay.
The Scratches are really cool. Who else do you like, Dave?
Chase Duncan we played with.
Chase Duncan.
To
is
Kill
really
a
cool.
Monster.
To Kill a Monster is cool.
Mhm.
It's
Fucking
funny because
badass.
none of these bands are math rock. Not one of
Right.
these bands.
Yeah.
Like if you go into like math rock, like of Two Minds, and we have not played with them, and they're a bigger like math rock band in Columbus, but they do have their guitar players another band, and what's the name of that?
I can't remember his other band's
Yeah,
name.
I can't remember the name
We
of it.
played
we
with
feature
them.
a song by them on our playlist actually, by Up to
Kill a
Minds.
Monster is sick, dude.
Yeah.
I played here 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I went to high school.
Amazing.
I went to high school with their bassist.
Maybe 2 or 3. Not 3 or 4.
Long time ago.
This is before I was around. Probably.
No, I'm not that old. Come on. But anybody else you can? I like Ruiner a lot.
Well, yeah,
Ruiner's
yeah.
really cool.
I used to be in a band with their rhythm section, with me and Christian, and their rhythm section for
Oh, okay.
Ruiner were a band. Midnight Animal Choir.
I really like the Phantom Queens a lot too.
Oh,
If you want to listen to some badass stuff,
Those guys are pretty good. Yeah.
And let me ask you this: they've recorded with me like a year ago. They have not released the music yet, and I've talked to them about this, and they said, "Well, it's coming up, so hopefully look out for that, because those guys will blow your damn head off."
Yeah.
Zoo Trippin' is obviously amazing. We've
heard
not
of
played
Zoo
with them,
Trippin'.
but
Yeah.
every time I see them out, I'm like, they're incredible. They're good
Friends,
guys.
man.
Yeah, they're really good guys.
Yeah. They remind me a lot of the temperance movement. Have you guys ever heard of them?
I
No,
haven't.
I have not.
The temperance movement
Yeah.
is like a super good rock band. They opened up for a band. Maybe you've heard of them, the Rolling Stones.
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've heard of them once.
I don't
or
Yeah,
think
twice.
yeah,
I think I saw them on
never,
a set.
ever in my life.
Yeah, they opened up for them for like it was either 6 months or 2 years or something. But
Wow.
but yeah, they're like
That's a
they're
huge, that's a
so-
big deal.
Yeah,
That's a
Difference
really
too
big deal.
between 6 months and 2 years.
yes, this is true. Yeah.
6
And-
months or 2 years,
yeah,
maybe.
it was 6 months, maybe a decade.
I broke and the other one changes your life.
right.
I
Yeah.
digress.
Well, that's super awesome. Since you guys have been gigging, have you built better connections with other local bands? Like when you guys get a show, are you helping other bands get shows with you, and they're paying it back, or how's that process?
Dave
Not
invites.
really.
Well, I mean, you invite quite a few bands that we played with before to play shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a rapport with a couple of good bands. Victory Laps has always been really good.
Yeah, we're a huge
Yeah,
fan of Victory Laps.
those guys are pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Phantom Queens has always been really good for us. Chase Duncan's been really cool. Typically we like to take the reins and book our own shows though, because we don't really fit in with too much of the Columbus scene as far as genre wise. So you have a lot of clicky scenes in Columbus. You have the big punk, and you have
Hard
the
rock, metal, yeah.
metal, and stuff like that. And we're like, okay, well we really play everything,
Yeah,
but it's just like not all at the same time.
yeah.
And so, we find ourselves really booking our own shows quite a bit and inviting other bands to come in and play. Because, we don't get asked out a ton. So we kind of take it upon ourselves to get her done.
There you go.
As,
Badass though.
Yeah.
yeah.
Build your own bill, dude.
Yeah.
I guess so. What I kind of bring everything to a conclusion here. As a band, Life in the Universe, what is there anything you guys want to share to the world? Whether if it's coming up with a future project or just your music or what
Shows coming up.
Shows coming up. What do you want people that are listening to? If you could tell them one more thing.
Well, we're not booking any shows until our record is done. That's the main focus right
So
now.
when's that, man?
We're starting recording in August. So we are starting
maybe
recording.
after the first of the year or something?
No. I mean, probably 2-month process. I move pretty quick.
October, November, maybe.
Yeah.
It's
So
not like the last
probably
one that was done in like 3 days.
probably early fall. Probably early fall. Look for our new album. Right now we have 2 albums on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere that music can be found online. We're pretty much there. Bandcamp and all that stuff. But right now our main focus is the next one.
Gotcha. And we're super excited to get that. We're super excited to hear it when it comes out. We have that Enkindled Columbus playlist that we try to show everyone that helps put people, local music in. And
Thanks, man.
I guarantee you guys there'll be some songs of yours on there.
Awesome. That's good to hear.
Well, it's been great sitting down with you guys. Thank you so much for coming out and doing this.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
And one more time, we're with Life in the Universe. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to the podcast. This last acoustic song is called There May Come a Day.
1, 2, 3, 4.